Alright, to go a little bit more into detail of some of the other things you might want to know. Okay, so when you start off a game, what you do is you shuffle your deck, your main deck. I'm not going to do it now because that's going to take a bit. Then you give it to your opponent for them to cut or shuffle themselves. They must have the last cut. As in, once they cut it, you cannot shuffle again. If you shuffle again, they have to be able to cut it again. Cut it, and basically cutting a deck is basically them shuffling. So basically, they get the last shuffle. Do not shuffle after they shuffle. If you do, you have to let them shuffle again. Okay, they return it to you. If you go first, well, basically, it doesn't matter who's go first. Both players start out with 3 Evo Gems. And you can put it wherever is most convenient for you. Just remember where you put it and keep track of it. You get 3 Evo Gems at the start of the game. Both players do. You can have a maximum of 12 Evo Gems, which is why you always have 2 dice. And basically, if you go first, you do not draw, and you do not gain an Evo Gem. Because you are at an advantage of being able to go first and prepare yourself for your opponent by setting counters, and basically you set up a board before your opponent can. But if you go second, if you go second, you gain 1 Evo Gem, and then for the rest of the game, both players will gain 1 Evo Gem during the startup phase, and then you draw 1 card. I've actually forgot to tell you how to win. How you win the game is that you win the game by either reducing your opponent's life points to 0, which you both start out at 1,000, and then, or if your opponent has to draw a card and they have nothing in their main deck anymore. Basically, this could be like, let's just say you are able to make them make their entire deck go to the grave, basically. And then when it's their turn and they have to draw a card, they can't because there's nothing in the main deck. They automatically lose. And then the final way is if they surrender. If your opponent can surrender at any point in time in the game, and as long as if they say something that says basically they surrender, whether I give up, I quit, or I surrender, or I scoop, they are admitting defeat. They automatically lose that match. All right, and let's get into some of the things that I keep forgetting that you should know, like how to read your cards. All right, there are certain cards that say once per turn. Once per turn is basically it says OPT. If you see a card that says OPT, here, let me find one that says OPT. There we go. Okay. If you see right there, how I set up the game is that the costs or requirements for a card to activate their effect will be bolded and underlined. If you see this OPT, it means that effect is once per turn. That means that you cannot use that effect again. Let's just say I use this one's effect. Just because I have a second copy of him on the field does not mean I can use him. Because the effect is an OPT, or once per turn, it means that I use that effect. And now for the rest of the turn, no matter if I have cards that have if I have a second copy of that card on the field, I can't activate the effect again because it isn't once per turn. It is, if you've played Yu-Gi-Oh, it is what they would call a hard once per turn. I will also say that in my card game, everything is default soft once per turn. If you've played Yu-Gi-Oh, you know what that means. If not, soft once per turn means that an effect that can be activated even if you have multiple copies. Let's just say these weren't. Let's say that these were soft once per turns. It means I could activate this one's effect and then immediately activate this one's effect, the same effect. I can activate both their effects during the same turn. But because they are OPT, it means that I can only activate one of the same effects, basically. It's a little hard to explain for me because I'm bad at explaining, I'm sorry. And then there's a thing called once per match. Once per match is more restricting than than once per turn. Once per match will be, you will know it's once per match when it says OPM. I don't have any cards right now that say OPM, but I do know there are some that you can get. They will say OPM instead of this OPT. And it will basically be in the same process. It'll just say OPM. Once per match is basically once you use it for the rest of that game, you cannot use that effect again, even if you have another copy of that creature. Basically, and I should explain this, a match is basically a game. It's one game. 2 matches, though, a best 2 out of 3 matches is considered a battle. So basically, you can win the battle by getting 2 victories. But if a card says once per match, and that's more tournament stuff, that's more tournament rule stuff, basically. A battle is a best 2 out of 3 matches. So basically, just remember, if a card says OPM, once per match, that means if you use it, that battle, I mean, not that battle, but that match, you can no longer use it again, even if you have another copy. And then another thing, this actually goes into, this says speed play. And it also says upon, if you see that. Any card that says speed play or upon, that effect can be activated during your opponent's turn. If it does not say upon or speed play, you can only activate the effect on your turn. Remember that. No cheating, remember. And then there is a final one that says CON, con. It is basically continuous. Means that the effect will happen every single time that the requirement is met. So I know there's a burn card in there that says every single time your opponent gets burned, burn them double that amount. It is a con, if I remember right. That means every single time your opponent gets burned, that effect will trigger. And that is basically, and it will even trigger during your opponent's turn, because it is continuous. I forgot to say, that is the other one that can activate during your opponent's turn, but that is only because it is activating every single time. So just to give you an idea of how a game would play out. So how you start out is, first you would start out by, here, let me grab my phone. Oh boy. So how you start out a game. Set your life points to 1,000. Set it off to the side. You can either use a calculator, pen or paper, or just something. Just remember, keep track of your life points. And your opponent must do the same. Then, you're gonna shake the die, or use rock, paper, scissors, or whatever you want to use, but, well, not whatever you want to use, but basically, shake the die, rock, paper, scissors, or even like flip a coin. Those are the 3 ways you can decide who goes first. Basically, if you say roll for highest, or roll for lowest, and whatever. Let's just say we're rolling for highest. Okay, so, yeah, let's just assume I win. I got an 8. They got, I don't know, a 1. No, 2. Because you can't get a 1 with 2 dice. Basically, I rolled an 8, I win. I get to choose. Do I go first? Do I go second? Well, let's just say I go first. So then, after doing that, or before doing that, you make sure to shuffle up your main deck. So this is when you get into that. Shuffle up the main deck. Well, there we go. Let your opponent cut. Just pretend I'm not cutting my own deck. This is my opponent. Yeah, we just, same body, same space. Okay, so deck has been shuffled, cut, and I have cut and shuffled my opponent's deck as well. I will put my Evo Gems at 3 right here, because you start off the game at 3, and then I will draw 5 cards. So let's see here. Alrighty. Alright, so this is just a demo of what you can do. Okay, we got a cantrip. We're gonna activate Recovered Evo Gem. It says OPT, so I can't use another copy of this card for the rest of this turn. I gain 1 Evo Gem. Now, my Evo Gem goes to 4. Put that in the graveyard. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to basic summon him and face down. I'll then activate Robo-Floof, because he extra summons himself from the hand. I have to spend 1 Evo Gem and put it at 3. And then, I know I didn't tell you guys this, but his effect basically says I get to send whatnot. I'm not going to activate, I'm not going to do all the effects, because there's just a lot. You'll learn it when you play, basically. Alright, and so, because it is my first turn, I cannot attack my opponent. I cannot, I'm sorry, camera, oops, I'm sorry, man. If it is your first turn, if you are going first, you cannot attack. Remember that, the first turn of a match, you cannot attack your opponent. It would be unfair if you could. So basically, because I went first, I cannot attack my opponent. End turn. Their startup phase. They do what they do. They do preparation, summon some creatures, I don't know. They do what they have to do. I also forgot to say this, my bad. When you go through your deck, because this card says you have to discard a floof from your deck to the grave, you can pick up your deck and shuffle through. If anything says to go through your deck, or you have to go through, if like Joyous Floof says you can extra summon from the deck. You pick up your deck, you look at the cards, you find what you need to find. Then after you are done, shuffle. You have to shuffle your deck, because it is unfair, as you can plan ahead if you don't shuffle. So because I looked through my deck, I have to shuffle this stuff. Alright. Here we go. Shuffle, then let your opponent cut the deck. They cut it. There you go. They do their turn, they do everything. My turn, I draw a card. Oh boy, a counter. Set the counter. Don't tell them you're setting a counter, by the way. I've seen people do that I've playtested with. Ah, crap, I forgot. I'm getting so jittery. Okay, they end their turn. Startup phase. I gain 1 Evo Gem. Now I draw. Preparation phase. I'll basic summon. And then I'll flip this guy face up. Strike phase. I'll do my attacks. Regroup phase. I'll set this card. I think I already said it, but whatever. It's just showing you that you can do that. Then end phase. They'll do their turn. They end their turn. Maybe they destroy this creature. Then they'll end their turn. Startup phase. I gain 1 Evo Gem. Draw a card. Oh boy, it's another counter. do that. And that's basically how it plays. I'll probably make a video where I play against either someone or myself, and hopefully that's fun, but I don't know. It will definitely help. I hope you guys enjoyed this kind of just quick but all over the place kind of the rule book video, basically, where I quickly go through the rules. I'm so sorry if it is very confusing. I am not good at this. This is my first time. But if you have any questions, leave it in the comment section, please. I will definitely get back to you very quickly, very fast, and I will try to resolve anything that happens. And by the way, you can buy it now. the release of this video, you can buy it. So go ahead. If you're interested, go buy it. It may take a little bit to arrive, because how GameCrafter does it is that it is made by order, which means they do not have a stockpile of this stuff. As soon as you order, they start making it. So it may take a little bit to arrive. Don't worry though, it always gives you like a 1 month wait period for your product to even be done. I have never had to wait a month, like 2 weeks at most I've had to wait for these cards to come in. But anyways, enough about that. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any other questions, let me know. I'll answer them. And I'll definitely at some point release a better how-to video, and also I'll release some actual battle videos, you know, videos of me and my friend, me and a friend, or someone just playing the game, and you guys can watch how it goes and works and actually learn better from that. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And without further ado, Squid Taco, signing off.